Hello everybody, my name is Jimmy and today I want to talk about forever worlds in Minecraft. I want to talk about why they are fun and some advice to keep them going long term, and whether or not a forever world is a good fit for you in the first place. If you've been in the space of Minecraft YouTube for a while now, you have most definitely seen or heard others talking about their forever worlds, and the idea of a forever world is not really anything new. People have been doing this, well, forever. But only in the last few years or so have people started kind of calling it by that name. And I have a forever world that is coming up on being 1 year old. I know, that's crazy. However, I have not always been a forever world enjoyer, and there are some inevitable downsides that can maybe come with having one, and I want to go over those as well as their solutions. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is what you should expect going into a forever world. Now, obviously, the first step to making a forever world is to create a new world, but hold on. Remember, this is the world that you are going to be committing a lot of time to. So, I think if you want to, it's definitely worth investigating a few different seeds for the world. Loading up a random seed is fine. In fact, my forever world is actually a random seed that I feel like I just got really lucky with, you know? But the reality is that a lot of random seeds in Minecraft can feel a little bit lackluster upon spawning in, or you might find yourself needing to roam around a lot to find the perfect spot, and that's totally fine if you want to play it that way. However, I don't think there's any shame in looking up like cool seeds that other people have found and posted online, you know? Maybe you want specific biomes or groups of biomes near your spawn, or maybe certain structures you plan to have as part of your world. I have also seen people who use the seeds of like old YouTuber worlds. I know that iHas Cupquake seed is actually pretty popular. That's a throwback. I know too that Hermitcraft will often pick a seed in advance and the members will all like look at it in creative mode before the series begins, and they kind of coordinate like who's going to build where and stuff like that. And that can all be applied to you for your solo world as well. Pick a world that you think looks interesting, and there's no shame in wanting to plan it out in advance, or if you really want to, just leave it up to fate and work with what you get. Alright, so you found a seed that you like and maybe you already even started playing. The next thing I want to talk about is actually how you keep the world going long term. I would say at the beginning stages of your world, take it at whatever pace you feel is best. However, I do kind of advise against like speeding through the early game. I wouldn't even rush to get a ton of diamonds right away. Many people will say that the early game of Minecraft is where the game tends to be the most fun, and like, I can definitely see that. I don't totally agree, and we'll kind of touch on that later, but enjoying the early game is a crucial aspect here. Enjoy using just stone or iron tools and the time it takes for you to gather a lot of resources. Take your time building. Build small at first and really focus on just feeling and enjoying the game at that stage. This is gonna sound crazy, but you should honestly try enchanting like your iron gear. You might think it sounds like a waste of XP, but honestly, it's really fun, in my opinion. You're always going to get more XP to enchant your diamond gear later, so just have fun and enchant literally everything you have with level 1 or 2 enchants, and it makes the early game even more enjoyable. Eventually, though, you will want to progress and get diamonds or beat the dragon, whatever. Just progress at a pace that is comfortable for you. I don't think I need to talk about motivation in the early game, really. I think people generally have an easy time having fun at that stage with all of the progress that you need to make and the discoveries you will have to find. Where the true forever world experience begins, at least to me, is when you reach the late game. You have elytras, shulkers, beacons, fully enchanted gear, and let me be clear, I am not saying you have to use those things to really enjoy a forever world. Plenty of people play the game without an elytra because they think it makes the game less fun, and I can totally get that. I mostly use it because I'm kind of lazy, and I don't always have like the time to run back and forth to my base every time I forget something, you know? But elytras or not, there's definitely still a sort of like late game blues kind of feeling that a lot of people get. And this is the point when many people start to get kind of turned off from playing. You usually maybe get to this point after about 2 weeks, and you've discovered tons of structures and found tons of treasure and stuff. At this point, the main thing that might drive you in this world is how much you want to build and expand the world you've created so far. And I'll talk about like build ideas and stuff like that in a little bit, but I still want to kind of talk more about motivation. The best thing about a forever world is actually in the name. The world is going to be there forever. It's not going anywhere. If you play on it for 2 weeks and suddenly find yourself burnt out, then don't force yourself to keep playing. It's okay to take breaks. I have taken breaks from my world that range from a couple of days to almost 2 months. If you're really into the idea of maintaining a forever world, then forcing yourself to play it when you don't want to might only harm the connection you have to it. And there is kind of one harsh reality in all of this. If you want to have a forever world, if you want to, commit to this, you have to enjoy or at least be okay and content with the idea that you are playing single player. I know it sounds obvious, but I bring it up because I think with playing solo, it can be very easy to get unmotivated, bored, or even lonely. To some, single player is a great escape and they have no issues with it, but I know others probably don't feel the same and find single player boring or maybe even pointless. Now, real fast, I want to talk about one way that I have found to alleviate that loneliness feeling, and it is true that in your world, you are the only Steve, you're the only person who's going to be building anything significant. But I think that incorporating villagers into your playstyle can actually make a massive difference. And I'm not talking about just making trading halls and stacking emeralds. When I made my world, I built my house directly inside of a village with the sole reason that working on my house and all that stuff made the game feel a lot less lonely when I had these villagers running around in the background and coming up to me and stuff. It also helped me find a purpose early on. That being, I wanted to expand on that village and make it a lot cooler than the vanilla ones actually looked. And as a result, early on, I had no problem finding what to build. And as my city expanded, the villager population also did. And now, all over my world, literally all over my world, I have villagers, adults and babies, employed and unemployed, running around constantly. I just let them do whatever they want, No trading halls. Sometimes they die, sometimes they wander off into a new area, sometimes they get stuck, and sometimes they go into the nether, but it's fine. I just like it when I have all of these dudes running around and they can just do whatever they want. And additionally, the more villagers you have, more golems and cats will also start to spawn around your world, and this already increases the livelihood of your world substantially. Trust me on this. Alrighty, so this is where the real meat and potatoes of a forever world lie. What do you actually build on a long-term world? Well, I could just tell you whatever you want, but that's not really helpful, is it? So I'm gonna throw some ideas at you. The biggest piece of advice I can give for building is actually something quite small. In my opinion, the little things, the small details of your world are some of the finest things you can add. Like, just adding some greenery to your already existing builds can do wonders in bringing them to life. I think leaf blocks are in the top 5 favorite blocks for me, if I'm being honest. I spam them everywhere. I like adding little bushes or using them as giant vines or something. Planting flowers or different kinds of grass and bushes can do a similar thing and also add a pop of color to your builds. But beyond just greenery, add small, super tiny builds. Like, I have this one spot in my world. It's in my Deep Slate City at the end of an alleyway. I have this dead bush in a pot with some leaf litter around it. It's so small, so insignificant, but I love it so much. It's got this tiny story to tell, someone forgot to water their plant and it got too much sun and it just kind of shriveled up. I have vending machines scattered around my world where if I press a button, it splashes me with speed. And I have trash cans scattered throughout my world as well that I can use to dump things that I have picked up that I don't want, like rotten flesh or seeds or whatever. And that feels more immersive than just tossing it all on the ground. I have this recurring theme of ruins kind of scattered throughout my world too, so I often will just have random clusters of stone brick that look like they could have been something before. These little details, maybe you'll call them micro builds, they can add so much and are a nice change of pace from the bigger projects. I also highly recommend turning any sort of farms you have into builds. Build the farm first, of course, and then really analyze its awkward and weird shape, and then build something around it. For a long time, my moss farm was just an ugly redstone contraption that sat in the middle of all my other builds. Eventually though, I got sick of looking at it and I built a sort of factory around it. I incorporated the moss into its design and I had so much fun doing this. Make builds that can have a specific purpose. I have a build that I specifically made to house my auto smelter and I travel to it with all my stuff every time I want to smelt my ores and things, as opposed to just having it in my base. I do have an enchanting table in my base, but every time I want to enchant stuff, I actually go to my world's library instead, because that's where I keep all of my enchanted books. You see what I'm saying? If you want to put a feature into your base, maybe think about making a build somewhere else in your world instead. And lastly, do not be afraid of the weirder or more out of place ideas that you might have. This is Minecraft after all. It doesn't all have to make sense. This is a space you should feel like you can be truly creative in. If you want to build pixel art around your world, then do it. If you want to build a giant Nintendo Switch like I did, do it. If you want to build a giant cat, then do it. People often talk about the nostalgia we have for old Minecraft, and I think a big part of that is just like the sheer amount of more wacky or creative style builds. Everything now is kind of all about like giant mega builds and massive cities with a curated vibe, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's all very cool, and if that's what you want to do, that's great. But if you are an observer watching people showing off these mega builds, don't feel discouraged. You don't have to be like that. Make the world uniquely yours. Don't be afraid to build from your mind and the weird ideas you have. Take inspiration from the media or other things that you like. I often take inspiration from the games I've played, the anime I watch, and in a more abstract sense, the music that I listen to also plays a part in my inspirations. And I love playing that way. Just be you. I also want to briefly just touch on the idea of like kind of role playing. You know, you don't have to really do this, and I don't really do it that much, but sometimes a little bit of role play when you're playing single player Minecraft can go a long way. Maybe you're like playing as an archaeologist and you're trying to like, you know, find all the structures and trail ruins and make a museum and that kind of thing. Or maybe you're like a nomad and you're trying to adventure and find like a rare biome or mob or something. I don't know. Little things like that can definitely go a long way. Those are really all the main points that I wanted to make about Forever Worlds. I hope that if you were on the fence about starting one, maybe I convinced you to take that initiative and get going. Or if you already have one, maybe you got a little burnt out and hopefully I've given you some help on you can eventually get back to it whenever you're ready. And real fast, I also just want to mention, like, if you do have a Forever World that you really love, make sure that you back it up often. You know, make backups in your Minecraft folder, of course, and somewhere on your computer, but also upload them to like Google Drive or something like that, just in case like your hard drive crashes or whatever. You know, it's good to have backups. I back up my world about like every 3 to 4 weeks, I would say, just because I am so scared of losing it. I put so much time and work into it. And I also just want to reiterate, you don't have to play your Forever World all the time, nor is it the only way that you should play Minecraft. I often still play on multiplayer servers with friends where we can all play mini games and stuff like that. Shout out Mineplex returning. Anyways, that's gonna be all from me today, guys. If you made it to the end of this video, I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you're new and you like my content, maybe consider subscribing and liking the video. But I'm gonna see you guys next time.